The Doom Eternal clones have arrived. It's a genre now, and for lack of a better term, I'm calling them Eternal clones or Eternal likes. It's fitting because the original Doom was so influential that for years any other first-person shooter was called a Doom clone. We weren't calling them first-person shooters. Doom popularized and defined the genre, so until that genre got its own name, Doom clone did just fine. It's not derogatory to call something a clone, especially in that time where the genre hasn't been defined yet by multiple popular titles. Super Mario introduced most people to the 2D side-scrolling platformer, and you couldn't blame people for looking at all the other games that came after and saying they're basically Mario clones, even though Mario isn't the first game to play that way. And how about Smash Brothers? I guess we're calling these games platform fighters, but I remember them just being called Smash clones for the longest time. So what are the Doom Eternal clones? It's important to keep in mind that not everything about Doom Eternal is unique to that game specifically. Fast-paced movement shooters with arena fights have been around since Quake and Unreal Tournament. Quake had Capture the Flag with grappling hooks. Grapple rail-only fights were my obsession for a year. Doom Eternal is not the first game to have an air dash. Doom 2016 wasn't the first game to have glory kills that give you resources. For me, it takes me back to God of War 1, where the button prompt finishers would give you XP, health, or magic. Doom Eternal isn't the first game to allow you to target enemy weak points to give yourself an advantage in battle. In Halo, plasma weapons broke shields, and plenty of games exist where you can target a body part to disarm the enemy. A lot of this stuff has been around for a long time. It's not that Doom Eternal is the first shooter to have smart systems. Many different shooters have had them, but Doom Eternal was the shooter that came from the world of run-and-gun shooters, where the general public thought of these games as basic and filled with mindless action. Not only was Doom Eternal pushing to have smarter systems in place, it felt like this was the first time a first-person shooter developer was coming out and talking about this stuff directly. Talking in every interview about the importance of player accountability in all the best games of all time. How this isn't something Doom Eternal invented, but it's something that every game should push for confidently, regardless of the genre. Those of us who really believe in what the game was pushing for have been waiting eagerly to see other shooters adopt the lessons of Doom Eternal, and for a while it was honestly a bit discouraging. I got the feeling that people were learning the wrong lessons from the game's success. They thought having an air dash and violent melee kills and fast weapon swapping and a grappling hook made games like Doom Eternal, when it's the resource management and especially incentives for smart, stylish play through challenge that truly create the experience. Now, it's been 2 years, and we're finally starting to see the shooters that are following in Doom Eternal's footsteps. The Doom Eternal clones, as I playfully call them. Keep in mind, I'm not explicitly saying that every game on this list was made with a decision of, let's make our game like Doom Eternal. I'm saying that they either saw Doom Eternal and took influence from its philosophy and options, or just happened to be following the same path as Doom Eternal and fit nicely into this group. Shadow Warrior 3 was the first game to get on my radar. From the trailers, the influence was obvious from the action we saw, but actually playing the game, we saw that it has small ammo capacities for its guns, so you can't just abuse one gun. Weapons are balanced to play defined roles in combat. There's health regeneration from killing enemies with guns, in addition to the health refilling finishers that are like glory kills. Sword kills cause ammo drops like the Doom Eternal chainsaw. You are always actively involved in your resource management through combat, navigating arenas for life-saving pickups, and drawing the rest of what you need from using a variety of tools at your disposal. And of course it has a grappling hook, which is something we'll see in a lot of the games on this list. After the game received a huge update revamping the resource system, balancing it differently across difficulty levels, it became even better. And there's interesting weapon synergy like the Basilisk freezing surrounding enemies, giving opportunities for powerful combos. If there's one game on this list that I would say is a must-play for Doom Eternal fans, it's this one. Turbo Overkill released a demo in March, showing lots of promise but riding the fence between casual and smart shooter, and by the time it entered early access, the game had eliminated ammo purchases from the store in the higher difficulties to make weapons less abusable, and the alternative fire cooldowns were made unskippable to make you want to switch weapons to avoid the waiting period. It's so clearly a game inspired by Doom Eternal in many aspects, and it's wonderful to see the game updated through development implementing smarter systems for creative engagement. engagement. It's got the Doom Eternal dashing, and the weapon swapping, and the fast mobility, and how can you say no to having a chainsaw on your leg? Turbo Overkill is another must-play for Doom Eternal fans. Metal Hellsinger is an FPS that will attract Doom players for obvious reasons. You're in hell, slaughtering demons, there's a glory kill mechanic, there's incentive for weapon variety, it's fast, it's got a metal soundtrack, you'll be right at home here. The twist is that it's a rhythm game, kill enemies to the beat for a high score, but also for damage bonuses and hit streak buffs to your character as you play. It's not just Doom-like action, it's Doom Eternal-like smart design with strong systems to push fun gameplay. And it's got challenge levels that teach you the importance of certain mechanics you may not have learned yet. The Doom Eternal is strong in this one, and it's a very high recommendation. Deadlink is a roguelike shooter, having recently come out in early access, that actually ties movement to resource management. Using your grappling hook to break energy orbs, or just finding them and punching them, provides ammo for your secondary weapon and activates buffs that you've slotted into your suit through the Hades-inspired upgrade system. They're incentivizing smart movement and cooldown management with additional resources and buff activation. It's a brilliant combination. On top of that, it takes influence from Doom Eternal's flaming meat hook by having a grappling hook that marks enemies with a glow. When you kill them in this state, they drop armor shards and 1 bullet for both of your guns. A secondary skill, the Scrambler Push, as well as the Grenade, also mark enemies in this glowing state. And with all these abilities on cooldown, intelligently managing the use of these skills leads to higher amounts of life-saving resources. You also see the crazy aerial movement and quick weapon combos seen in higher level Doom Eternal play, so it's been no surprise to see some of the top Eternal players take a strong liking to this one. Deadlink is the game on this list that I find to have the most addictive gameplay. Project Warlock 2, now in early access, is an ambitious sequel to the respected shooter from 2018. After being directly inspired by the discussion around Doom Eternal systems and the fun zone we all talk about, they've implemented excellent new systems of resource management by having the sword drop random ammo types for different guns. There's so much action that it feels impossible to lean on just one gun even with the large ammo capacity. And there's crucial magic attacks that help you conserve ammo. They also put in a weapon swap incentive in the form of a passive reload. If you shoot all or most of your rounds, you can switch weapons, and as long as you wait 1.5 seconds before returning, the first gun will reload off-screen. And since the game gives you upgrades that increase how much you can shoot before reloading, or upgrades that remove a weapon's reload, the longer you play, the more you can expand on your own preferred playstyle, not feeling like you have to constantly swap weapons like you do in level 1, but still not feeling like you can just ignore the variety of tools you have and abuse one thing in the later levels. There's a combo meter that provides you with ammo, health, and magic orbs the higher it gets, encouraging fast, constant aggressive action. And it's wonderful to see such a great implementation of a style meter into a first-person shooter's gameplay, especially after so much bickering between me and style meter fans on my channel when I usually dismiss the mechanic as arbitrary. Hyperdemon is the surprise sequel to the wave-based survival shooter Devil Daggers from 2016. It's not a first-person shooter like other games in this list, but its design is one of the strongest examples of Doom Eternal similarities that I've seen so far. A sequel built around the high-level tech of the original title, showing off the fun mechanics and their usefulness right away, adding large amounts of verticality with a creative double jump mechanic and a new dash ability. Enemies now have specific weak points to efficiently eliminate them from the board in ways other than just shooting them. Hyperdemon is an excellent example of why Doom Eternal looks the way that it does. And I'm not really talking about Hyperdemon's bizarre art style, I'm talking about the flashy in-your-face images, enemy attacks being telegraphed, enemies changing color when stunned, high contrasting colors to easily identify power-ups and bombs. Doom Eternal did the same thing because they knew they had to communicate a lot of information to you really quickly because of how fast the game was moving and how many more things were happening. If you try to put action this fast into a dark and gritty serious art style, a lot of the important information can get lost in the chaos. Hyperdemon, in much the same way as Doom Eternal, is always letting you know what you need to know through smart visual and audio cues. If you can handle the visuals, and not everyone can, Hyperdemon is a wild ride that you shouldn't miss out on. Fashion Police Squad is a cute, colorful shooter that has you running around town correcting fashion crimes, painting dull gray suits, whipping vapors with your belt to tighten their pants, and weaving those oversized potato sacks that the Karens wear into nice-fitting dresses. It's ridiculous, but it's also quite fun. The grappling hook feels great to use, but it is a bit awkward since you can't control the direction after you shoot it, but you're flying around the levels and it's integrated into combat, with highly placed sniper units that are much easier to kill if you get up to their level. Fashion Police Squad says, what if you took the weapon-specific kill method of Doom Eternal's spirits with the microwave beam and stone imps with full auto, and made an entire game around it? Well, some of you might say that sounds miserable, but really there's something really fun happening here, trying to balance all the specific kill methods when different enemies are mixed together. Dull suits have to be painted with the paint shotgun, neon bras have to be drained with the laser, loose suits are shot with a suit stitching autocannon. Things get pretty interesting as the game goes on. And of course, how could I do a video without mentioning Postal Brain Damaged? The game literally has Doom Eternal's meat hook super shotgun. You've got some fast mobility, fast weapon swapping, it even has a dead swapping mechanic so you can fast fire super shotgun or rockets. Personally, I like to have the P button on my mouse so I can freely move around and P swap the super shotgun. Enemies drop resources when killed if you're really low. It's a game very inspired by Doom Eternal's combat loop, though the ammo management is not there. You're given so many weapons, plentiful ammo, and power-ups that can refill that ammo. It gets to a point where it almost makes me not want to include the game, but I personally feel that the game throws enough high-energy combat encounters at you to encourage weapon variety, so it makes this list. Another game that almost didn't make this list was but it has a lot of comparable features and mechanics. It has an air dash, there's fast weapon swapping and combos, creative advanced mobility options, grappling hook, grotesque monstrous enemies and gore, shotguns, rocket launchers, and railguns, and a glory kill-like health regeneration system that encourages you to get close to enemies to refill health by shooting them point blank. There are things in that can certainly draw the attention of a Doom Eternal fan. It almost didn't make this list because of the balance of its first act and its lack of ammo management since it has infinite ammo. But recently the game went through balance changes and added new levels. The new levels significantly raised the intensity of the combat encounters, pushing you to use more of your arsenal and play smarter, while still allowing you to not have to think about ammo management. And the changes to the style meter encourage weapon variety, as a high style meter now rewards you with better health regeneration. That's two solid forms of encouraging player accountability right there, and I like it a lot. The Doom Eternal clones are coming out in confidence, my friends. There's still plenty of room for casual run-and-gun boomer shooters where the balance is all out of whack and you just run around blasting away, admiring the world and enemies. That can still exist, but there are shooters pushing to be better, asking players to learn their systems and engage in the variety they offer, and punishing them if they don't. High-action combat where resources come from eliminating your foes in different ways, weapon variety and mobility incentivized with interesting mechanics and challenge in combat, unique AI types, it's all there and it's glorious. I hope we get more of these titles, and I think we will, whether they are explicitly inspired by Doom Eternal or not. The confident design philosophy can be seen in many new titles. You may take issue with me calling them clones, but hey, it's a video title, so whatever. You know what I'm trying to say here. It's been so exciting to see the shooter genre evolve into what it is now. Indie shooters are exploding, and Doom Eternal's a big part of that. Other large retro shooters like Dusk and Medieval are definitely responsible too. But lately we're seeing games push forward with the Doom Eternal philosophy, and it's taking us to a new level. It is mostly the indie scene where we see the Eternal clones, and I hope that more mainstream titles do emerge, but I'll be happy to just see the design philosophy permeate through the indie shooter scene for now. It's a great time to be an FPS fan.